don't care, and you don't think people care about the SAG and WGA, the actor and writer strike, wait till you see the list of movies that are still okay and some of the stars that are in it. And then if you factor in other projects like maybe Fathom event projects or other really small indie films, kind of like Sound of Freedom, imagine those all landing in theaters with so much less competition from these big studio projects, and imagine how audiences are going to respond. No one cares about your strike. And here is further proof that no one's going to care about your strike because there's a ton of stuff that's already circumventing your unions. Okay. The SAG-AFTRA approves dozens of indie films because they're not all part of it. And look at the stars that are in some of these films: Ortega, McConaughey, Wahlberg. Dozens of movies have been given approval. Hollywood is on strike, working with studios affiliated with the Alliance. So these are actors that are not going to be working with the AMPTP. So okay, anytime there's unions and these big corporations, a whole bunch of abbreviations and names and whatever. Here's the thing: there's a whole bunch of things like this that have been moving forward. Chosen, which is a very popular faith-based show, is moving forward as well. Here, Variety reports that 39 more projects have received approval. I originally saw the article that said 20 and then 25, and now it's 39. So there's two A24 projects: Mother Mary, which is Anne Hathaway and Macaulay Coel; Death of a Unicorn, which is Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. Other stars, it talks about other things like Matthew McConaughey is going to be in a film called The Rivals of Mziah King, and Mark Wahlberg on Flight Risk, and Sigourney Weaver on Dust Bunny. Now, I'm not saying any of those are blockbusters or these big budget films or anything like that, or it's going to completely save everything. But we have to stop. The people in Hollywood are so naive to think that everyone cares about them. Here's a secret to life for everyone. Everyone. If you want to get through life a whole lot better, you have to accept that no one is thinking about you. And the moment that you stop worrying about what people think about you because they're not thinking about you, the better your life will be. Worry is this wasted energy and resource, this mind suck, soul sucking thing. But with Hollywood, it's built so much on ego and narcissism that they cannot. So many people are so insecure. This is another reason why I think Twitter is just mayhem of these people sounding off so they can try to be relevant and get the adrenaline rush of trending. Or maybe that's dinner party conversation in these circles about who's trending, who's not. I don't know. But you know what? Go with a non-union job. You'll be trending. You'll be in theaters. This is crazy. Anyway, so there's just different stories that are already breaking. I'm going to hop over here to the, oh gosh, I can't. This is, by the way, it's so frustrating because they now have reverse engineered the ad blocking thing, so you have to turn your ad blocker off to go to some of these stories. So when you turn the ad blocker off, it quite literally just explodes your computer with stuff. Right? Look at the building. If this exists, it's just too much. They're not doing anything enough for these people to justify this much money changing hands to have that kind of building. And it's ridiculous. I think this is pretty much the same stuff that was there. Bride Hard with Rebel Wilson. Oh, that sounds terrible. And The Chosen, of course, has been mentioned. The union has announced that it would approve interim agreements known as waivers for these independent films and TV productions. Sure they are. Let's see. Duncan Crabtree, Ireland. Union's executive director said on a conference call Tuesday the actors are actively encouraged to participate in such projects. So independent productions are able to move forward on union's terms. It undermines the studio's talking point that union demands are unrealistic. So yeah, the battle is going to go on because there's really not great solutions. I know some of these things already exist. I get it. There's already been agreements. We fought, we won, people's likenesses, things like that, right? Because you've heard stories about like the cast of Gilligan's Island didn't get any residuals, right? And they corrected that. Well, now with streaming, how do you quantify and monetize how much money is being made off of streaming? See, with the licensing agreement, because Sony has stayed out of that, right? Sony's to just license their stuff out. So during a licensing agreement, you're going to license out Spider-Man. So I'm sure that somewhere in this red tape, for every license like that, let's say $1 million trades hands, X amount will find its way back to Tom Holland and Willem Dafoe and whomever. Okay. Um, but when you get to streaming and you're like, oh, okay, they just made Tulsa King for this show. And now it becomes, let's say, a phenomenon. How much of a cut does, and how do they prove those numbers? I don't know if there's an answer for that. I don't know if they know that there's an answer to that. The writers are also like being very unrealistic with like, oh, we want to have like 12, a minimum of like, like all, like I've heard 6, 12 people in every writer's room. Um, we know AI is writing stuff. They've admitted it intermittently for pieces of things, but when you watch shows, even major Disney shows like Secret Invasion, Andor was like this, She-Hulk was like this. There were others, and it was like humans don't human like this. Like the pacing's off, the conversations rock. Mandalorian season 3 was like unbearable at times. It would be like this cut shot, and then suddenly Din Djarin just starts monologuing about something, and you're like, "What is happening? This is so strange." It was these unnatural moments that took you out of it. And so when you hear the grumblings and the leaks about AI, so now we're going to move forward, and we're going to say, "Well, these studios don't really need these writers, or they don't need." Let's just assume they're going to do that. What leverage does the writer have, right? Because technically now a studio could just AI write a series and they could bring in humans at a very super cheap price and brush those up. I don't think I think the end result is mostly crap, but reality is it's about leverage, about negotiations and compromises and these kinds of things. If there's this many movies, 20, 30, 40 movies that are still moving forward, and let's say 3 months, 5 months, 6 months into next year, there's still just movies popping in. There's new content landing on streaming, or people like me are pointing out that there is just, well, first off, we're generating new content. There is new content that's going to be created, but more importantly, it gives us an opportunity for us to share. These are the good movies you should watch. I've been trying to start to put together interesting lists, or first off, I'm not interesting, but lists of, you know, movies that make me smile, like a comedy, but not necessarily a comedy, just something I enjoy watching because it makes me happy, kind of like Big Trouble in Little China, right? It's a comedic action fun little film, and it brings a smile to my face every single time I watch it, right? Um, I was just talking about Shark Week, shark movies that you haven't seen, right? So I've been doing The Reef in open water and things like that. So films that are like lesser known or less popular, those kinds of things. That's what people are going to fill their time with. No offense to all you Hollywood people and all the strike and all this hoopla. And the media is just obsessed with trying to martyr these people. And it's just a joke. The rest of us have things to do, real life responsibilities. And I just don't care. I don't believe this media cares about like the little writer who does, lives in their studio flat and can't get by. I just don't believe it. So anyway, that's my take on it. Update on this. Love to hear your thoughts. Where do you think things will land? Do you think, how am I off base on the negotiation process, where compromises will and come into play? What do you think are some of the bigger pivot points? Those kinds of things. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I am Pops.